Which leaves us with only one conclusion.
Exactly. That they were too engaged in their own affairs to have disabled the ship and murdered the engineer. Given the choice, they would rather kill each other than any of us. It's elementary, my dear Riker.
Hello everyone and welcome back to Fully Functional, the TNG podcast. I'm Jeff, joined by Jeff and Maggie.
Sorry, Jeff joined by Jeff and Maggie?
Did you just say you're Jeff?
I did! Did I?
And I'm Jeff. Yeah. Joined by Jeff.
Oh god. Okay, let's start this over.
Jeff.
Welcome back to, something.
We are really setting a precedent here,
Oh
guys.
god. This is off to an amazing start. All right. Welcome back. Let's get this right. Welcome back to First Contact, a TNG podcast. I am Maggie, joined by Jeff and Dory. We're two Trekkies and one noob. So we're gonna go on a journey, episode by episode, through Star Trek The Next Generation. This episode, we will be discussing episode 7, I believe, of the first season of Star Trek The Next Generation, called Lonely Among Us. Original air date October 31st, 1987.
Ooh.
Halloween episode.
Spooky.
It actually has nothing to do with Halloween.
Scary stuff, eh, kids?
So we'll be starting off, as always, with a recap from Dory.
Okay, so we start off the episode. There are delegates coming in from two different planets. One is the snake people, who I do not appreciate. Also, they breathe like I did before I got my nose fixed.
Ooh,
Ooh, heavy breathing like no other.
that will be a yikes from me.
For the record, not a nose job, just a really bad deviated septum. So they're kind of rude. They're like, okay, you can come in and we're going to bring you guys to Parliament. We have got the other group here too, and they're coming also. These are two groups that really hate each other and are not afraid to let people know. So they're like flying and they get to this like really pretty cloud, and Worf and Geordi are in the like sensor room or something, and Worf is looking at this thing, and then he gets like blue electrocuted. A very quick side note, you notice that every time something's like electric in this show, it's blue?
Yeah, welcome to the 80s. That's just kind of an effect that they were all down with.
Okay, well, I mean, it's not a complaint, it's just an observation.
You'll see it again and again and again.
Party. So, Worf gets electrocuted. He falls down very dramatically. Geordi takes like a good few seconds to turn around and react. They bring Worf to the doctor. He doesn't remember stuff. Then it's funny because when Worf gets infected, he's in pain. But then when it transfers to the doctor, she just stands there like in shock. Then she like goes up to the bridge because she's like, oh, I need to get to the helm. They're like, you can use that space station spot thing.
She's super awkward about that, too.
Yeah.
Like, it comes off like, oh, there must be something wrong with the doctor, because why did she just stare at her son and say, yes, that's right. The helm is on the bridge.
Because there is something wrong, because the electric alien...
I know. It's just so painfully obvious. Like, they're rubbing it in the face of the audience, but no one else is picking up on it.
It's also, I think I wrote somewhere in my notes that you know something is wrong with Dr. Crusher because she's interested in Wesley's schoolwork.
Ooh, burn.
So apparently normally she's not. Also, he was wearing the same sweater as last episode. That orange one.
Yeah, and the same pants, too.
I actually had a question about that. Did you guys notice that the sweater was, like, all the way up at his like, elbows most of the time? And given how loose that sweater is, there's absolutely no way that thing could have been held up like that unless there were, like, clips and supports on the inside of the sweater.
Yeah, that's probably accurate.
I mean, it could be possible the arm cuffs might be elastic, and they might be, like, a bit tighter.
That's possible. However, I'm going to go with my theory because it's funnier.
So she goes to the bridge. She sends her electricity into the computer. The systems start to get all weird and wonky. We're introduced to Mr. Singh, another engineer.
We have a lovely mention of Mr. Argyle, who is at this point in time the first minor character like that who's been mentioned in more than one episode.
It also feels like this is like they love to bring people in and have them disappear. Like, it feels like the engineering department really is very disposable.
Oh yeah, they don't have their shit together, clearly.
It's a very high turnaround department.
So poor Mr. Singh, rip, he's playing around with the computer, and the electricity goes through him, and instead of just like making him do weird stuff like the other people, it kills him, which is...
This is our first death of the show, incidentally.
Yeah, it was like, I was like, this poor guy. Like, it's interesting how the electricity thing like reacts to people. Then it goes, I think it goes back into the computer or something, but then it goes into Picard, in which he just immediately acts so fucking weird.
He becomes dapper as fuck.
Yeah, he like sits down on like a chair very casually. Everybody's like, oh, I think he's like, okay, we're gonna change course, we're gonna go back to the cloud thing, and everybody's like, the fuck? And he just like sits back down and crosses his legs like, let's go.
That's it, I've given you my orders, suck my D.
Yeah, and so then they're like, okay, well, something's obviously wrong with Picard, so we need to do something. So they talk about mutiny, in which Geordi goes, Riker goes, if he's dangerous, and then Geordi goes, then he'd have to be relieved of command, which you could, Doctor, but it's Boku trouble if you're wrong. Why did they throw that in?
Yeah, I don't know what it is they're doing with Geordi in these early episodes, but I kind of love it.
It's so funny. I was like, is it Boku because he's French?
Oh, I didn't even catch that.
I thought that was really funny. And then, yeah, so they're like, we need to... Oh, so they go... Riker and Dr. Crusher go to see Picard, and he's just, like, leaning over a window, and they're like, we think you should do some, like, tests. You should come down to sickbay and do some tests. And he's like, yeah, when I've got some time, maybe. He's doing nothing. They're literally watching as he's gazing out the window, and they're like, maybe you should just, like, come down. And then he's like, I think you guys should maybe do some tests, and I'll do it when I'm good and ready. And then he just, like, lounges on the chair for a second, puts his feet up on the desk, and they're like, well, maybe. And then Dr. Crusher disappears, comes back, and he's, like, goes back to the window to, like, look out into nothing. Like, this is the most... He's obviously doing nothing, but I do appreciate it's a power move that he's like, yeah, when I'm, like, not busy, yet he's clearly doing nothing.
I mean, I kind of love that entire scene because the whole thing is them trying to appeal to, you know, the sense of Picard that's logical and be like, hey, so we think there's something wrong with you and we want to do some tests on you. And they're all very, like, meek about it. And he just comes back at them with, like, the most ridiculous clapback. This is, okay, look.
Yeah.
I think there's something wrong with you. So instead of testing me, you guys are going to get tested. So you can get back to me on that. Bye.
Yeah, it's so great. He just is like, no, thank you. Maybe you guys do that for yourselves. And then the shocker is that, as it turns out, so he admits to being, like, possessed-ish. And he's like, he says that he is resigned from the command and Starfleet. And then everybody gets, like, electrocuted. And meanwhile... Riker is just yelling, security, red alert, restrain the captain, while nobody can obviously move. So then Captain beams himself out to be like energy in the cloud and some nonsense like that. Truly didn't understand the whole energy form stuff.
What's that? Picard uploaded himself to the cloud?
Yeah, I guess so. And then they're like, well, I guess rip to Picard. And Riker is like, okay, I guess we're going to go. They have 2 seconds of, like, mourning. And Riker's like, all right, I guess we're going to go to Parliament. And then Troy is like, wait. I said, she got an episode. She got to do some stuff. She got to do some hypnotism. And then she got to sense the captain was still alive. And then, oh yeah, so then... they're able to get him back by reasons that I don't understand. And then they're like, oh, Picard, you must be like tired and exhausted. First he's like, okay, back to work. And then Yar's like, okay, so like the snake delegate guy might have been murdered and their other group are planning on eating him. And Picard is like, yo, I'm tired. I think I'm going to later days and you can deal with this, number one. And just like leaves. Riker's like, oh, fuck.
Just another day in the Enterprise. Bum-ba-da-da-da-bum.
And the episode ends. This was an interesting episode.
Yeah, interesting is definitely a description for it. I would actually go with a different term for it. I would go not interesting, because the episode is really good at being incredibly boring.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's not my favorite. There were some good lines. Data as Sherlock Holmes, that whole bit was
Hilarious,
great.
yes.
I love. Oh my God, he goes. Where was it? I wrote down a couple of his lines. Oh, indubitably, my good woman. He says to Yar. He also says, "It's elementary, my dear Riker." And then, as Holmes would have pointed out during the time in question, something was afoot. And I think then somebody's response was, "What's afoot?" I think it was Yar. But I do love Data. Data leans into this sort of thing. But I love that he's had the pipe, and then at one point Picard like tells him to put the pipe down, and you can see him like looking down, like wanting to pick up the pipe.
He's very disappointed in that.
Yeah.
At one point, he's like, "I want that pipe."
I wrote down that Picard spoils Data's fun.
It's true.
Yeah, this is where we kind of establish Data's love of Sherlock.
Is this like a recurring thing?
Maybe.
Because I love that. I think it's so cute how he like he's like, what's a PI? And then for whatever reason, Picard throws in like private consulting investigator. What? No, a PI is 2 words. It's just private investigator. Where are you getting consulting from?
Yeah, I believe that's Sherlock Holmes' official title is like a consulting investigator. Or he's like a consultant.
But like a PI, it just stands for private investigator, right? So like, it was wild. Also, those like Selays
Yes.
Yeah.
were the snake guys. Those guys were snake guys. Sorry, guys. Those were not lizard people. Those were snake guys, 100%.
Yeah. The thing is, it's been a while since I've seen the episode, so I didn't remember what exactly they looked like. But yeah, they were snake guys.
They were fine though. Like they did not bother me. I actually found the like other guys, the Antikins. I wrote it down, but I can never remember how things are pronounced. Those guys were creepier.
Yeah, because their mouth did not move.
Fun fact for Maggie, actually, you'll appreciate this.
Oh, I think I know what you're
do
going.
you know who? Sorry.
I know what you're gonna say.
Oh, what am I going to say?
That one of the Antikin guys is Gul Dukat.
Yes, that is exactly what I was going to say.
Who's that?
He's a main character from Deep Space Nine.
Or a main antagonist, rather.
Yeah, he's the main antagonist.
Yeah, he is a reoccurring character who comes up quite a bit in that show, and he's played by an actor named Mark Alamo. And this is his first Star Trek role.
Yeah.
Oh, how nice for him.
You can't tell that it's him, and you can't hear his actual voice, but, whatever.
Now that I know it's him, I recognize, like, the speech patterns, like how he says
I recognize the eyes. I was like, oh yeah, those are some Mark eyes right there.
Oh, if we're going to go over to quickly, like, clothing corner, they got to have some jackets at the beginning of the episode.
Oh, yeah.
I love those jackets. New outfit alert. Those are great.
Those are the dress uniforms, like the ceremonial uniforms.
I love them.
Yeah, I'm a big fan of them.
You will see them reoccurring through the rest of the show occasionally.
Oh, wonderful.
Yeah, they're really nice. Oh, and costuming. So, has Worf been wearing the sash the whole time?
I don't know.
Off and on, it depends on the episode.
Or is this the first episode where he wears it?
I don't think it is, no.
This is just the first time I've noticed the sash. I don't think you ever really get an explanation for what it is. You just kind of, as the series goes on, you figure it out.
No, you do not. Just did a mild Google, and no, it is definitely there from the first episode of TNG. I think this is the first time that it seemed to actually be obstructive in any way, because this is the first time Worf's really done anything action related that we've been paying attention to.
Yeah, that's fair.
Yeah, I know it was extremely noticeable when he was, like, turning around in that first room that we were in, and you can tell that it's, like, frayed badly on one side and whatnot.
Yeah.
And then when Geordi lifts him up, he's, like, putting his hand underneath of it specifically, and you're like, wait, why?
Oh, I kind of laughed at when, like, I like Worf, but it was, like, weird seeing, like, when he was on the floor in the censored thing and they got Dr. Crusher and that other guy came in, and the other guy tried to hold Worf down when he was, like, freaking out and trying to get up, but it said Worf pushes him and he falls down.
Oh, yes.
And then Geordi, like, body slams him. And then I noticed in the background the guy, like, trying to get up, and he, like, looks like his hand is hurt, and then he, like, touches the back of his head, like, oh, I'm in pain.
Yeah.
And then Dr. Crusher, for, like I said, she's like, you okay?
Yeah.
Barely acknowledges the guy.
I love how excited Wesley is that his mom is paying attention to him. I know. Like, showing interest in his schoolwork.
I mean, it really shows that Wesley is extremely desperate for attention.
Oh, of course.
Aww.
Yeah.
That's actually so sad.
It is sad.
I also, Wesley, I found it funny when he was bothering Mr. Singh, and he's like, Wesley, go to school, like, go to class. And Wesley's like, fine. And then he doesn't. He goes to see his mom instead. Like,
Yeah.
Wesley, do you ever go to school?
Well, I don't think they have, like, an actual school. I think it's, like, private learning.
They do have an actual school that you see on occasion, but you never see Wesley in, like, an age-appropriate classroom.
Yeah, I think Wesley does, like, self-learning or whatever.
Yeah.
Like, he just studies on the computer, has, like, a digital tutor or whatever.
Can you spell enterprise?
And at the beginning, we get, some more ham-fisted Cold War commentary.
Oh, yes.
Because
when they're discussing about, like, why the Antikins and the Saleh are so, like, hating each other, and they're just like, well, there's lots of things that people used to come into conflict with. Oddly enough, even economic systems. And it's like,
Yeah.
okay, yeah, we get it. Even though nobody was doing it because of economic systems, it was all over money. This episode has so many, like, little things to say about it, but so little to say about the overall thing, is how I'm feeling about it.
Yeah, the whole thing with the Saleh and the Antikins is, like, doesn't need to be there, really.
Actually, that was apparently not a late addition, but they had a completely different B-plot for the episode at one point, and at not the last minute, but through one of the major rewrites, that part was put in instead as kind of a throwback to TOS. Not a great decision, if we can be honest.
No.
I mean, we got snake people, we've got really, really bad mouth puppeteering on the goat people, and, like, it just, none of it is convincing at all.
I mean, you know what I'd love to see? And I think now from watching these few episodes, I realize, like, why I don't watch a ton of, like, episodic TV shows like this.
Yeah.
I think it's because, I mean, I love an overarching story, but I think I just crave, like, character development, like people. I like stories about people, and this is just, like, stuff happening.
It's gonna be like this for a while.
Yeah, no, I assume so. But, like, I want to learn more about everybody's backgrounds. I want to know, like, how they ended up in Starfleet. I want to know their families, where they're all from, and so far, I think we know, like, kind of the most about Yar.
Yes.
Strangely enough.
And all they've really done with Yara is be like, what are two really bad things here in the 1980s? Rape is being discussed and gangs are being discussed. What if we put those together and make that her backstory? Rape, gangs.
Yeah.
Perfect. But
that's
this
heartbreaking.
This kind of very plot-driven writing style sticks with the series for a little while, and it's generally agreed upon that once the series moves on from that, it gets immensely better.
That's good. Because, yeah, I'm really realizing how much I enjoy, like, character development. Because, like, I keep waiting. Because in the first episode, we know that there's some kind of history between Troy and Riker.
Yes.
And there has been no anything since that mention.
Nope, not at all.
Basically.
Yeah.
And so I'm like, every time they look at each other, I'm like, something gonna happen? Is somebody gonna say something? Somebody gonna make a reference to something? No. All they just do, they'll look at each other briefly, and it's not even like, it doesn't even seem like like, I don't know, like they have a shared history. They're just like looking at each other for the sake of looking at each other.
Hey, the script told them to.
And I don't know if that's like an
Yeah.
I was gonna say, I don't know if it's an acting choice or like a directing choice or whatever, but like I'm just craving character development. I like to learn about people's relationships, and like not even romantic relationships. I just want to learn like how this team was. Obviously, we know Riker was joined later, but like how long have these guys been? I mean, I was gonna say working together, but we know it's less than a year because last episode they said the ship, or was it this episode? I truly don't remember anymore. That the ship is like less than a year. It's been like active for less than a year, so that's why it shouldn't have had as many malfunctions as it has.
The
I think that was in
assumption,
this episode.
the assumption is that there's a big period of time between the first episode and not the second, but like between then and now-ish. And
Okay.
everything from then until the end of the season essentially all happens in kind of a short period of time. And they're trying to establish, like with the first episode, okay, this is brand new. And everything after that, they want to be like, okay, it's been a little while. And that's just the attitude that they're writing from, the assumption they're writing from. It's never explicitly stated, obviously. And then from here on out, it just kind of goes by a season per year is the way that they treat it.
Yeah.
Okay. Interesting.
The premise is that like in the first episode, like the ship is brand new, Picard's the new captain of it, all the crew is new and all that stuff. So this is like they haven't been like together very long. Like this is all new. Yeah.
Oh, okay. I don't think I realized that they were just all being assembled in the first episode. I knew
Yeah.
that Riker was obviously joining then, but I didn't realize that everybody was pretty recently met.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, fair enough.
Because, like, I know when Riker came up, so did Dr. Crusher, and they obviously know each other, but yeah, it didn't occur to me that everybody was sort of new to the whole situation outside of them.
Yeah. I guess they didn't explain that very well. Because I think it's like they picked up all the crew and like the last couple crew members they needed were Riker and Dr. Crusher.
Okay. That's interesting. That's cool. Yeah. I just want people to...
Yeah.
Like, I think that's why I liked the drunk episode.
Fair.
Is because you see more people react to stuff to each... Like, it's more about the people
Yeah.
versus plot.
There are a couple of more character-focused ones coming up. You know, you have a few things to look forward to, but this is absolutely not one of them.
Yeah.
I mean, last episode, we got like a tiny little bit with like people imagining stuff.
Yes.
But most of the people imagining stuff are not actually like our regulars.
Right.
Which which is kind of funny that like why would they not, they had Worf get to imagine his pet very briefly.
Yeah, his pig.
Yar got to see the cat and get transported back to her child, or I guess teenage years, or in her youth, we'll say. And then Picard got his mother having tea in the hallway. But I don't think anybody else... I would love to know, like, what Troy's thing, what she would have seen, or Data, sorry. No, I'm sorry. I keep... Because, like, the word Data to me is, like, Data. But I have to remember that his name is Data. I just want to learn more about the characters.
Yeah.
That's fair.
The good news is that you will eventually. Like,
That's good,
it's coming. It's just probably going to be a little bit.
Because I also find it hard to, like, root for people if I don't know who they are.
Yeah.
Like, because right now, I have, like, a pretty good sense who Picard is. But that's because he's, like, the main character.
For the most
And
part,
we follow him through a lot. And I think last few episodes... Actually, really, since the first episode, seems a lot more stern. Now he doesn't seem as stern. Just he has his moments where like he can be a little bit goofy, which I appreciate. But I think I have a better understanding of him at this point. I think I kind of get Dr. Crusher a little bit better.
Yeah, that makes sense.
But most of like the gang on the bridge, not really.
No.
I mean, actually, Yar you have a little bit too, just because she's gotten a handful of stuff sort of focused on her. And she's just a badass,
Yeah.
which I appreciate. Yeah, I guess I'm just looking
Yeah.
forward to learning more stuff about people.
The one thing that disappoints me about Tasha is, like, did we really have to make her backstory rape?
Yeah.
Yes, they did. They absolutely did. Why? Because
Yeah.
It's absolutely awful.
worse than that, her character was originally supposed to be Hispanic.
Uh,
Yeah, so it was going to be like, okay, we've got our Hispanic person, and she just happens to be from the failed Federation colony that's full of rape gangs. All right, then. That's not some social commentary at all.
yeah. Ugh.
Jesus.
Yeah, good last-minute decision they made there on switching her up.
Like, or this is a crazy idea and I'll put it out there, but I mean, this might be a real hot take. Maybe rape does not have to be part of a woman's backstory or a story at all.
No, that's a little too
Is that too hot takey?
too radical for me.
Yeah.
I don't think I can handle something like that.
I mean, it's a shot in the
Yeah,
dark.
the story wouldn't be realistic enough, you know?
Yeah. Because God forbid a woman has to have that kind of trauma in her life on a character where you can create a backstory.
It's
Yeah.
really weird because we have 3 extremely accomplished female officers as part of like the main part of the crew. And one of them has had a lot of lines to deliver and yet very little exploration. One of them who just happens to be from the, angry failed Federation colony backstory full of rape and gangs, happens to be the one that likes to, shoot first, ask questions later. And then
The
you've got...
strong female character.
Yeah. And then you've got Beverly Crusher, who they haven't really done very much with her yet, despite the fact that she has, like, a main issue between her and the captain in the history between them, and her son is on board. And yet we know more about any of the male characters than we do about these 3.
We know she had a husband and now she doesn't, and she's a mom
Yeah.
Yep.
and a doctor.
Yep.
Crusher is sort of labeled by she's labels.
Yes.
Like whatever her she's a doctor, she's a mother, she's a wife.
Many of the characters are just archetypes at this point in the series, and it's really disappointing because for people who were trying to get into this, what they came off of getting used to was the original series, which was a much more upbeat show. It was about 3 main characters for the most part. This trifecta of the 3 main characters who were all really fun to watch and really clever people, and they had very differing personalities, and we're not really getting much in terms of personalities from these characters yet. Except for Geordi and Data.
Yeah, Jordy and Data are fun.
We have Tasha Yar, the strong female character with the rape backstory.
Mm-hmm.
We have Deanna Troy, who gets hardly any lines or anything to do and is emotional. And then we have the mom, who we haven't really dug into in Dr. Crusher.
Even though we've seen her quite a bit.
And dead husband.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, he's not a character.
Yeah.
Yeah, and the thing is, like, I don't dislike any of the characters right now.
No.
No, but you have no reason to love any of them yet.
Yeah, I mean, I love Data.
Okay,
Yeah.
fair. You have no reason to love most of them yet.
I think Jordy's fun, but I want to know more about him. I think he's one of the more, like, animated characters.
Mm-hmm.
At this point, yes, he is.
He just seems like he's young and he just seems fun.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I just want to learn more about people. Because then I'll really find out if I really don't like them or do I like them. I normally hate somebody in a cast. Nothing personal to the actor, but I normally hate a character.
There's something I'm a little confused about right now. So we've seen Data in a variety of roles at this point in the series, even though we're only 7 episodes in. But we've seen a lot of versatility from like what his character can do. And for somebody whose character starts off with emotions, what are those? He's really good at actually expressing them. I can't count the amount of times when he's shown everything from embarrassment to like meekness to disappointment at this point in the series. And somehow he's not emotional, yet he's exhibiting all of these things very clearly.
I wonder if, like, at the beginning when he was like, emotions, what are those? I mean, not obviously we're back.
Maybe he's trolling.
I wonder if it's maybe he learns these from the people around him, right? I would assume that.
Well, I think the argument would be that he's emulating them, but
Yeah.
I don't buy that this early on, because a lot of the things that he's emulating are things that he's developed of his own accord. So, like, for instance, in the previous episode when his fingers are... Or not previous. In the last outpost when his fingers are caught in the finger trap, and he's looking up at the captain, and he's like, sorry, Captain, I appear to be stuck. And, like, that is clear embarrassment.
I think the way he delivered it, it didn't seem like he was embarrassed. I mean,
That's absolutely what I got from him. But, okay, so I'll give you a more recent example. When he's got the pipe, and the captain tells him, like, drop the pipe out of this, he's just like, okay. And he's, like, kind of, like, looking down at it, and then, like, looking back at the captain, and you can tell that he really wants to use it, but he's also a little embarrassed about the fact that he has been using it.
See, I don't get embarrassed for that. I get, like, that he just wants to play with it more.
Yeah, but why would he want to play with it? Why would he have a desire like that?
Because he's enjoying playing the character of Sherlock Holmes.
Enjoyment is an emotion.
Yeah, I'm not saying it isn't. I just I don't see it as I'm not catching embarrassment.
Okay, fair enough.
I just think he wants to play with the pipe.
Yeah. The thing is, though, is that, okay, like, besides the practical, it's a human actor, and you can't have a completely emotionless character because that's boring and not interesting.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's possible. Sometimes we don't realize we're doing things. I think Data doesn't realize how much emotion he does show because he doesn't show
that's a
as
good
much.
point, actually.
He doesn't show as much as most people.
Right.
And I think it's one of those characters that I think probably really relatable to autistic people. Where
yeah, that makes sense.
They like Drax, where they take things literally and have difficulty with social cues and that kind of thing. I think kind of that's where it's at, where Data doesn't really intrinsically understand his emotions and what he's doing and other people's emotions.
Okay. Yeah, I can agree with that. I mean, it's also pretty important to point out the fact that at this point in time, they just haven't really figured out what they're doing yet in terms of writing him. So there's that.
Oh, for sure.
But yeah, I can definitely agree with that. That sounds like it fits pretty well.
But I think Brent Spiner does a good job of balancing that, like, being an emotionless character, but not, like, devoid of personality.
Yes, I definitely agree with that.
Yeah. So he definitely has a personality, but he's not, like...
He's not a robot.
Yeah.
Are you saying the android isn't a robot?
Just in terms of personality-wise.
Well, he isn't a robot. He's an android.
Fair. He's a mindful automaton.
So yeah, I guess the thing I'm not really explaining very well is that with Data, it's like if we have like a true AI learning computer, we don't know how their personality will manifest and if their reactions to things will simulate human emotions or will be like very close approximations to it.
Did they is this us projecting the like no emotions part onto the character? Like, did they explicitly state yet Data can't experience emotions?
I don't think so.
Okay.
I don't know if they might have. Not that I'm remembering right now.
Yeah, neither am I. Because, like, obviously it's something that you and I know very clearly because we're very well versed in the series. But
yeah.
Dory, I don't know. You might remember. Are we just projecting this?
I don't think so, because I mean he does sort of have moments where he questions stuff, but like he still then will. I mean, he must experience emotions in some capacity and maybe just doesn't recognize it.
I'm just wondering if he's explicitly stated, I can't experience emotions yet.
No, I don't think he has.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Then, you know what? That sets the stage for them to do whatever they want with him, because if it's only implied, then it shows more naivety than it does like an explicit point of his character yet.
Yeah.
Yeah, because even like the episode when him and Yar sleep together, he's like bashful after. Like he thinks I remember
fully.
He like comes up to fully. he like comes up, like he obviously felt something from that interaction, because right after he comes up to the bridge and he's like leaning on the wall and like, so he's felt something about it. If he felt nothing, he wouldn't have leaned on the wall the way he did.
Maybe he felt pride.
The thing that's established is that so Data doesn't experience emotions the way humans do. But that
Yeah.
doesn't mean his reactions to things can't be similar to the way a person would react.
Right.
Or like a
yeah,
human
that's
would
true.
react.
Yeah.
Like, he doesn't have, like, the... yeah, it's just a different experience, but his reaction is kind of similar.
I would say his reactions are more pure because with most people, there's certain, like, almost connotations or associations with things. Like, when people react to certain things, like, you know, certain songs, like, you can associate with a certain memory. And so you'll react differently. Like, there's a song that whenever I hear, I burst out laughing, no matter where it's from, and it was once played at the Oscars in the In Memoriam, and I couldn't stop laughing, and it was very inappropriate because I wasn't by myself.
Yeah.
Oh.
But
Oh
that's
dear.
just like, but human beings, we have, like, we'll associate things with different things. Data doesn't have data.
Yeah.
I was right the first time. Yes. Data doesn't have the, like, associations, the references. So I would think that his sort of reactions to things are pure because he doesn't have, like, prior, like, acknowledgments or things attached to it. So humans react to things with a bit of prejudice some way or another. He doesn't,
Yeah.
if that makes sense.
Yeah, that's a
Yeah.
good point. It's almost like none of his reactions are informed reactions.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like, he...
Okay.
It's all intellectual. It's like, he
Yes.
knows... He doesn't feel disappointed, but he knows he would like to continue using the pipe.
Yeah.
And given his programming, he would probably emulate how a human's face would look and react with something like that.
Right.
That's my argument for it.
No, I
Yeah,
I
no,
think I'm
agreed.
down with that.
He's still not feeling anything, but he's kind of simulating it, and it's basically a reaction based on his thoughts.
It could also be, like, based on what his wants are.
Yeah.
Because he wants that damn pipe.
Yeah. Yeah.
Now, doesn't he want something cooler? Do you guys remember the Cele's neck noose on Riker?
Oh, yeah.
The
Oh,
Raver
yeah.
neck noose?
That was so weird.
Like, that was a prop that they got just for that shot.
It's like, oh, it was glowing. It was green.
Oh god, I absolutely love Data in this episode.
Yeah, he was fun.
He's extremely charming in it.
The Sherlock Holmes bits, I think, were one of my favorite parts with him.
I also love that everyone just lets him do it and get away with it.
Yes.
Yeah.
I love how amused Riker is by it, and he's just like, no, it's fine, don't worry about it.
And even Picard is like, he doesn't let him continue doing it, but he's not like, what the fuck are you doing? He's like,
Yeah. He's just like, quit it.
yeah, he's just like, Data, let's tone it down for now.
Dory, did you have any favorite moments that you'd like to have stand out for us?
I have 3 favorite moments.
Oh my.
One is, as we've talked about, I loved Data as Sherlock Holmes. All those lines were really funny. There's something very special about "It's elementary, my dear Riker."
Sir.
I also, this is such a, the other 2 are very random. One is, so when everybody's being kind of like electrocuted by Picard, Worf yells out, "Captain, I'll help you if you let me." It's like, oh, Worf.
Oof.
It's like right in the heart.
Oh god.
It's like, you sweet angel. Oh, that's so sad. And the other, so I guess, like, Picard, he's been, like, I guess, possessed, quote unquote. And he goes, "Everything is fine now." And I wrote, "The call is coming from inside the house." Yeah. My notes. Because it's when, like, the computers, everything's freaking out, and then he's like, "It's fine now," and they check and everything's back to normal.
Yeah, we didn't really talk about, like, the main plot of this episode, which is that, like, an energy cloud has, like, weird energy beings in it, and then they take over random people in the ship, and then try to convince... The entity claims to have convinced Picard to, like, go out into the cloud with him as energy.
Like that, I think it's just the whole concept of this episode is kind of dumb.
Yeah.
Yes, it is.
It really is.
And I don't think there's like a ton to say, because like it's basically bounced from person to person to machine for it to be like, oh yeah, we want to go back to that cloud. And I'm like, that's very anticlimactic.
It's weird because I thought that the tension was effective up until that point.
Yeah.
Well, I did write like, this isn't tense when the captain is like, yeah, I've quit, I said in my resignation. But I still, like, even though there was still sort of like a little bit intense, I still was like, it's still anticlimactic for the result to be, oh, it's like an alien thing wanting, like a possession wanting to go back to the cloud, and he's gonna like take Picard with him. And I'm like, okay. I think like the acting and like Patrick Stewart is so good that when he was like put everybody in that like electricity situation.
Oh, you mean right after he gave away his whole plan to everyone?
Yeah.
Like a cackling supervillain?
Like, I was like, oh, this is gonna happen. He's actually, like, I thought they were gonna stop him before he went into the thing to transport. And then when he actually did, I was like, oh, okay. So like, how's he gonna come back? And then they're like, through the ship. It's like, oh my god. What kind of drunk person wrote this?
Yeah, it's one of the first instances of just the transporter will fix it somehow.
Yeah, it felt a little sloppy. I didn't love it, but also I suppose I just have to sort of think about, what am I watching?
Yeah.
This is it's a sci-fi show where like I'm also not going to understand the logistics, and I don't think I have to per se.
They're not supposed to.
Yeah, you don't really have to.
So like the idea that he would somehow half be in the ship or somehow survive being turned into like energy doesn't make any sense. I was like, have we lost him for good? Is this third episode in a row that I'm saying podcast is over? Because Picard's gone, but
Actually, Maggie, your little point there a moment ago about how they used like the magic transporter to solve things. Apparently, that was a major criticism behind the scenes.
Oh,
like,
yeah.
they were like, could we not use the transporter for this early in the show? Because, like, that's really going to set a precedent for the rest of the show.
Yeah, and it does.
yeah. Oh, God.
Okay, so my favorite line in this episode is when Dr. Crusher brings Worf back in to sickbay to, like, ask him some more questions. And she says to him, like, Worf, about your memory blackout. And he says, I still don't remember having one.
Shocking. Oh my god,
I just
Worf.
really like that. I love it. Like, Star Trek seems to be funny when it's not trying to be funny.
Yes, it's very good at unintentional humor.
Yeah. No, well, I think that was, like, an intentional joke. But, like, it's not, like...
It's not funny for the reasons they think it is.
No, I think it is. I think they did that on purpose. I guess what I mean more so is this isn't like a comedy episode.
Oh, yes.
They're just throwing in some levity, which is usually really good, but whenever they try to make it like a funny episode, it just fails so fucking hard.
Yes, very true. So the moment that ended up standing out the most for me is actually right towards the end. Right after they bring the captain back, and they're having that discussion with him, and Yar bursts in, and she does her whole, like, oh my god, like, there's been a murder, and the reaction from everybody else in there, especially Riker, is just absolutely priceless to me, because she came in there to say, Captain, we're on a diplomatic mission. One of the diplomats was just murdered and possibly eaten. This is, like, cannibalism level, and this happened on our ship. The captain wants none of it. He's just like, well, I'm tired. And Riker rolls his eyes and practically, like, giggles at it. And I'm just sitting there like, guys, a man is dead.
Yeah. Yeah, she runs in and is like, Commander Riker, like, one of the there's like a huge pool of blood outside of one of the delegates' quarters, and he's like, this couldn't wait a minute.
Yeah. And then she's like, oh, hi, Captain.
They do that
Yeah,
Saturday
glad
morning
you're feeling
cartoon
better.
thing where they're like, hey, so the captain's back. Oh, you.
Like, I half expected once Picard was like, oh, yeah, after Yar tells us all this information, and he's like, oh, yeah, you know what? I am going to rest. I half expected it to be like freeze frame and then like fun music play because it almost sounded like a joke. Like, she's just told him all this bad stuff is happening, and he's like, I'm going to go take a nap. And then, like, freeze frame.
Maggie, do you mind if I deliver the next episode thing?
Oh, sure, yeah.
Okay, because I have a great one for her. So, Dory, looking for some predictions from you. Our next episode has a very short title. It's called Justice. And
God.
In the episode Justice, Wesley gets arrested. I want to hear your thoughts.
Okay, first, because it's called Justice, the first thing I thought of was Q. Q better not be in this episode. If Wesley gets arrested and Q is the judge again, I will lose my mind. Oh God, what could Wesley do? Oh my God. Okay, I have something. Wesley, because he loves the computer engineering stuff, he's playing around and accidentally finds some classified secret information.
Ooh.
Like, that he's not supposed to. And he gets caught. They're able to trace it back to him. And they're like, he needs to suffer the consequences for learning this information. Or it's something super basic, like somebody steals something and puts it in his pocket and then tries to frame him. So it's either high concept or really low concept. I feel like it's got to be one of those.
Yeah, I would have to agree with that, but we'll have to wait.
Yeah.
I'm just excited to see what sweater he's going to wear. I hope it's not the orange one. We have 2 episodes of the orange sweater. I appreciate it, but I'd like some variety in the sweaters.
Bring back the green sweater. Come on.
Okay, so that leads us to the end of the episode. We'll see you next time when we talk about Justice.
Goodbye.